Um, well, any negotiation is a question of leverage. You know,
Right.
what do you have that I want, and what do I have that you want, right?
Right.
And if you have, if your client has more juice, um, your leverage is higher, and you get a better deal.
Right.
So that's kind of the pattern in every whatever the negotiation, whether it's two kids negotiating over, uh, you know, candy or with their parents, or me in a boardroom for a company or an artist, right? Um, but like we were talking about before, uh, the key to any negotiation is information, and the information download starts with what are your client's goals, right?
Right.
So a smart representative, lawyer, manager, agent, whatever, you really have to crawl inside your artist's head, your client's head, and see what she or he wants. Um, and then you have to kind of gauge their strength. So I'll tell you. So I'll quite often people will say, "Crush them," punish them. Ugh. Oh, and don't blow the deal. And I always go, "Well, that's great, except those are contradictory instructions, right? Because if you're really going to hammer people, there's a risk you're going to blow the deal. So you really have to kind of get information gathering starts with what does your client want? How badly do they want it? What are they willing to give up to get it? And can you put it at risk? Because otherwise, as an old mentor said to me once, if you can't walk, you can't negotiate. And that's really important. If somebody tells me I can't lose this deal, then my response is we'll push politely, but we're not going to push it to the edge. If you can't lose it, we can't, right? Can't
Right.
fight us. Um, well, I'm a big fan of Sam Harris's podcast.
Okay.
He's in a couple of podcasts on AI. I mean, I don't think we're, Hal and oh my God, 2000, what's the name of the movie? Well, there's been lots of TV films where the evil computer takes over
Okay.
the world. I don't think we're there yet, but I
Oh,
think there's a real danger of that. Um, there's some pretty scary things going on in the world, and some pretty scary people in the world. And to think if some of these more dangerous non-state actors got their hands on AI, some very, very bad things could happen.
right.
In the creative space, I get that question all the time because I do a lot of work in the publishing world, as you know, you've researched me. Um, at the moment, we're okay because the United States Copyright Act doesn't protect stuff that's not created by humans.
Right. Oh, okay.
So
Wow.
that's good.
Yeah.
But eventually, yeah, unions fought and got great contracts. But if again, you're 15, but if you're following the industry periodicals, a lot of heads are rolling. A lot of heads rolled in the music business. A lot of heads have been rolling in the studio business. Um, it may be the cat that well, I'm sorry, the dog that caught the car. They got a great contract, but things are not so great in the entertainment business.
Right.
And I think there could be some lean times.
Right. Of course. And
At least, I think you're going to find. I moved you from Nashville. I think I told
oh yeah.
you. In Nashville, you had a couple hits, you could tour forever because they had country, the soft ticket takes, those country fairs.
Right.
But it seems to me that pyramid got very, very steep. So I had lunch with a writer yesterday, and I forget he had something with a zillion streams, and he'd made $11,000. So the
Wow.
folks at the very top, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, they're still crushing it, but the
Of course.
middle class got wiped out. Which, if you talk to people in all kinds of industries, that's what seems to be happening. Is the folks at the very, very top are still crushing it, and the folks who used to be doing okay are not. Well, that's a very flattering question, so thank you. I don't. Um, there's. I don't know. I don't know how people make that list, but if there's 20 people on the list, there's probably 100 people who deserved it. Um, you know, secret of life is timing and place, and part of it is I work at a fantastic law firm that is enormous. I think we're the third largest in the United States, maybe largest globally. So that certainly helps me, right?
Right.
That certainly helps me. Okay. You ever seen the or read you ever read the book The Last Lecture?
I've actually heard of it, but I haven't had the pleasure of reading it yet.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
It is beautiful. And that friend of mine who died at 46, that book came out a few years before he died. So whenever I teach the last class, I would tell the class, I said, so there was apparently a tradition at Carnegie Mellon University. There was a tradition that said that the last class wasn't about class, it was about life. And this one teacher was apparently, he won teacher of the year over and over and over. Um, and he gets up and tells the kids that, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, my students are always my kids, tells the students the Carnegie Mellon tradition, and then says, this really is my last lecture because I have pancreatic cancer and I'm not going to make it through the summer. And he talks about his wife and his children and what really matters in life. So I would always do that. And I think to really succeed in anything, you have to work your tail off. Now, the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours, right? I think now there are people who live charmed lives, right? But most of us, you work your tail off, you get good at something, um, and then there's a lot of being the last woman or last man standing. Part of it is just not quitting. And your generation, the number one thing in the era of everybody gets a trophy, if there's one predictor of success, it's resilience, because life is going to kick the stuffing out of you. You may lose a job, your parent may die, you may have a financial reversal. Um, God, the year I made partner, my number one client died, and my number two clients went through a horrible divorce, and his new wife fired everybody in sight. I still made partner. So things happen that are out of your control. So to me, find whatever your definition of success is. It really has to be yours. Don't do it for your parents. Don't do it for a spouse. Don't do it for a significant other. What makes you tick, and work for that. And I think that is it. And I don't know. I very much think of my old man, because I don't, when you're at the very top, it's a very tiny, tiny, tiny pedestal, and someone's always trying to knock you off it. And I looked around my old man's friends, and I thought, okay, if this is B plus, it's a nice way to live. They're living great lives. Their kids are great lives. They have nice family. Everything's that's a lesson I try to teach my little one. My little one is a laser towards a goal, which is a fantastic trait. But it's very tough for him because he'll lock on something, and anything but that is a failure. And part of growing up is learning the gray area. So I don't know. Is this the top? It feels like it, but it's the top for me. It's the top for me.